What is the best individual scene in Avatar? Now, I'm not talking a whole episode, I'm talking one single scene, and there are so many good ones. So today I'm covering my top 5 scenes in Avatar: The Last Airbender. These are the scenes that just make the show what it is, that make it so amazing, that put it at that number 7 spot on the IMDb top shows or whatever it is right now. Number 7, it should be number 1, but anyway, these are the scenes that I just cannot watch without being absolutely locked in. I'm always getting goosebumps watching these, and when it's just me and this scene, it's like the rest of the world just disappears and I'm just immersed in this world and these characters, and these are the scenes that make me want to start a YouTube channel where I exclusively talk about Avatar. That would be crazy if I did that, wouldn't it? Anyway, I just want to say that this is obviously my personal opinion. If your top 5 is completely different, it is probably still completely valid just because the show is that good. Except there are some scenes on here that I would hope are in your top 5. But there are also some scenes that you may not have even thought of that I just find completely amazing that I had to put on my list, such as number 5, the runaway, Sokka and Toph talking on the cliff as Katara listens from below. I just love this scene so much because it is just fundamentally about the team and their dynamic. More than that though, it's about Sokka and Katara, and I think it was kind of this unspoken thing throughout the show that their relationship was more than just a normal sibling relationship because of what happened to their mom. And for Sokka, we never really knew exactly what he thought of his mom, and you could kind of put it together that like, oh, Katara is kind of his mother figure in his life. But I think finally getting that in words in the show from actually just hearing Sokka say it is so powerful, especially because he's opening up to Toph about it, who has her own parent problems. And even though this is admittedly one of the more fillery episodes and not as great episodes in book 3, it does tackle something that is really important. And I think the show it's underrated how impactful and I would say necessary this episode is, just because of how it deals with the underlying issue of Toph's parents and what she thinks of them, and of course Sokka and Katara's relationship. I guess I shouldn't say that this episode is like totally necessary, because like I said, it is more fillery, but just because it isn't necessary doesn't mean that it's, you know, worthless. And I think the show is so much better off with this episode than without it, even if it is plot-wise filler. The real takeaway from this episode though is the introduction of Haki, who is great. At number 4, we have a scene that some people will probably be surprised is not higher on the list. It's Zuko and Ozai's confrontation during the Day of Black Sun. This is probably the most satisfying scene and moment in the entire story, the entire show, because this is Zuko's redemption. Even though he obviously has work to do from here, this is when he finally committed to being good. It's when he finally becomes his own self instead of conforming to the life that was placed upon him, that he was supposedly born to live. It's like this is when Zuko becomes the butterfly. And let me elaborate. So everything before book 3, he was just a little hot-headed caterpillar fighting for his honor. And then once season 2 ends and he is welcomed back into the Fire Nation, that is when he is in his cocoon and he's all conflicted, and it's just a very weird time for him, but also a time of great transformation. And then during the eclipse, he confronts his father and he emerges from his cocoon and turns into a beautiful butterfly, which is really corny, but I'm pretty sure Iroh used the same exact analogy, so the whole metamorphosis thing, but you know, he probably said it better than me. You know, I can't steal that from him, but that's just my spin on it, I guess. Get it? Spin, because cocoons are spun. Anyway, this is so satisfying because Zuko is finally standing up for himself and choosing his own path, and he's doing it in front of his father, and then he redirects his father's lightning, and it's just like perfect. There is no other way that Zuko's redemption should have gone. Next up, we have the beach, the scene near the end where all of our Fire Nation characters are on the beach having an emotional chat, sharing their stories, and this scene is just so great because it adds so much depth to characters that otherwise didn't have as much as our main cast other than Zuko. But something that all of these scenes have in common, all 5, is maturity. And when you think of a kids show, these are not the kind of scenes that you would imagine, but they're just so powerful and relatable, and I say that because they're just so human. And the beach is great because everybody is getting vulnerable. Even Ty Lee, who initially was kind of just like this happy character, always in a good mood, always trying to be fun, and now she actually has so much more depth, and you can see like, oh, this is why she is how she is. She's not just this contrived, super fun character for entertainment. She's actually as real as any of these other characters. And we also get a lot of stuff from May, and I think the Ty Lee stuff is better than what we get from May, just because May as a character is not as interesting. Maybe I'm just biased because because I don't really like the whole emo doesn't care about anything trope, but obviously there's a place for it in the story. But the big thing, unsurprisingly, is Zuko, and how this is just such a big moment for him, because when he's surrounded by all these people that care about him in one way or the other, he finally has to confront the turmoil within himself, and he has to answer the question, who is he angry at? And once he does that, it just is such a turning point for him, and it's one of the biggest steps he takes in his redemption before finally confronting his father. And even though his realization, or whatever you want to call it, when he gets all angry, he says, I'm angry at myself, even though that is the biggest moment in the scene, it's really built off of all three of the other characters, especially Ty Lee. And I know I already talked about her, but she kind of starts their whole little feud because she cares, and she's the only one who's not so closed off and kind of emo enough to actually open up. And then once she does, the others follow. We get all of the emotions, even from May, and even less so from Azula. But what we do see from Azula is that she can still be kind of like a real person, and like a real sister almost, because she's trying to help Zuko through whatever he's going through that she doesn't even know. She's like, are you mad at me? And that's just, it's a level of maturity and kind of just normalness that we don't exactly see from Azula. And I mean, I'm sure she had more ill-intended purposes because she just wanted to figure out what's going on. She doesn't actually really care that much. She's just curious. But just seeing her be more soft-spoken and just seeing a different side of Azula is really great for her character, I think, and just further shows how layered the writing and characters of this show are. At number 2, we have the only scene that is not from Book 3, and that scene is the end of Crossroads of Destiny, the Season 2 finale, which might just be the best episode in the entire show, but that's a topic for a separate video. Crossroads of Destiny is, first of all, maybe the hardest title for an episode in the entire show, and maybe in all of television, I'll say it. But in all seriousness, this scene is just so legendary because so many of our main characters are making huge choices and facing the consequences of them instantly, and heartbreaking things happen. Zuko pretty much relapsing, and Aang dying, and the whole world finally falling to the Fire Nation. It's just all really mature and messed up stuff for the finale of a kids show, supposedly kids show, even though it's, you know, we all know it's not. So quickly, everything goes from going super well, the Earth Kingdom is on board with the invasion, to the Avatar is dead, and the whole world is now taken over by the Fire Nation. All of that is done in one episode, and this final scene specifically is told pretty much completely visually. There's very little words spoken in the final minutes of the season, but that just makes it so much more impactful. And seeing Katara with tears in her eyes see Aang fall and then making this huge wave to catch him, it's just, that is the moment that always gets me. And it's just so I don't even know the word, poignant and heartbreaking. And then Iroh shows up and helps Katara escape with Aang, and you can just see the disappointment on his face when he looks at Zuko, and then it's just, you think, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I'm saying. Like, I can't even articulate this scene. And really, it deserves so much more time spent on than just what I am doing now. But to sum it up, I would just say that seeing these characters who you've now become so attached to, who are so real, go through the scene, it's just so impactful and emotional, and it's just such potent storytelling. Seeing all of these characters lose, the only ones that don't lose are the ones we don't like, which is Azula, and ending the season that way is just perfect. Unsurprisingly, at the number 1 spot is The Last Agni Kai. This is such a powerful scene, which I know I've said for literally every scene so far, but this one is really, really special. This is some of the best, not only animation, but storytelling and character writing of all time. These two siblings have been pitted against each other their whole lives, and it's all finally coming together now. It's all crashing down now in their final fight, The Last Agni Kai, where both of them have just completed their arcs within the story, and it shows in their bending and their appearance and their temperament in the fight. But it's so much more than just a fight, because it's not about how powerful either of them are. It's a culmination of two of the most incredibly written characters in fiction, who both have such amazing development and arcs and characterization and performances, but at the same time are so different, and they're just complete opposites. But at the end, they've swapped positions, where now Zuko is the calm and disciplined one, and Azula is the one fighting with rage, and she's out of control, and she's not herself. She's not living her own life. But now Zuko finally is. Zuko has found that balance within himself. He's found out who he is, but Azula doesn't have that balance, and she's never once thought to stop and think what she really wants. She said nobody to guide her to do that, like Zuko had Iroh. Even though she was still the more powerful firebender at this point, Zuko is still able to keep up with her and eventually get the best of her because he had peace, which is such a huge theme of Avatar, is finding inner peace and balance in yourself and in the world. But moving on from that, there's obviously one thing that I need to talk about this scene, which is the music. Everybody knows how perfect the music is for this scene because it's not some exciting Agni Kai fast-paced music. It's slow and it's sad, and it perfectly captures the tragedy of two siblings who are both very traumatized and who have both been very manipulated, now fighting against each other for no good reason. But even putting the storytelling and characters aside, from a technical standpoint, it is just an incredibly impressive scene. And I already talked about the music, but also the animation, the contrast between their two colors of fire and how they light up the night and the Fire Nation Palace, and the way that they attack each other in Firebend is different every time. It's not just the same basic blue blast versus orange blast of fire. It's something different, and every single shot looks better than the last. And when you pair that with the chilling music and the muffled sounds of them producing fire using the power of Sozin's Comet, it's just so incredible, and I get goosebumps from this scene more than any other scene in the entire show. It is well deserving of being called the best scene in Avatar. To end this video, I just want to say thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. I worked really hard on this video and it was one of my favorite projects ever. I really do hope you enjoyed it. All of these scenes and so many more in this show are just testaments to great storytelling and how it can do so much more than just entertain you. It can change you, it can teach you things, and it can leave an impact on you that you carry for the rest of your life. And this show just means so much to me and so many others. And to close, I want to say something really corny, which is don't stop loving things and don't stop being passionate about things, because that is really what life is all about. So thank you once again for watching. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day or night, and until next time.